Okay, before we start talking about English today, I want to say something simple. If you're listening to this right now, you don't need to feel ready. You don't need to feel confident. You don't even need to feel motivated. You just pressed play. That's enough for today.
Yeah, and honestly, if you're here, there's a very high chance that English is something you've tried before, not something new, something unfinished. And that's actually who this episode is for.
I think Okay, before we start talking about English today, I want to say something simple. If you're listening to this right now, you don't need to feel ready. You don't need to feel confident. You don't even need to feel motivated. You just pressed play. That's enough for today.
Yeah, and honestly, if you're here, there's a very high chance that English is something you've tried before, not something new, something unfinished. And that's actually who this episode is for.
I think a lot of people don't say this out loud, but starting again is often harder than starting for the first time.
Much harder. When it's the first time, you're excited. You don't know how hard it will be yet. You don't have any bad memories. But starting again, you remember everything that didn't work.
You remember buying books and not finishing them, downloading apps and forgetting about them, telling yourself, this year I'll really do it, and then slowly stopping.
And maybe the worst part is not stopping itself. It's that quiet feeling afterward, that small voice saying, I always do this. I never stick with anything.
If that voice sounds familiar, let's pause for a second, because that voice is not telling the truth. It's just tired.
Exactly. Most people don't stop learning English because they're lazy. They stop because English becomes exhausting.
Jenny, you talk to learners every day. What do people usually say right before they quit?
They usually say things like, I feel stupid when I speak. I know the words, but I can't use them. I don't want to sound wrong. And after a while, it's easier to avoid English than to face those feelings.
That makes sense. When something makes you feel small every time you touch it, you eventually stop touching it.
Right. And then people blame themselves instead of blaming the way English was taught to them.
So today, we're not here to push you. We're not here to tell you to try harder or be disciplined.
Today is more like opening the door again. You don't need to walk all the way in. You just need to stand there and breathe.
I like that image. Just standing at the door. No bags, no expectations.
And no promises like, I will study every day from now on. Because honestly, those promises usually don't last.
Let's talk about that for a moment. People think motivation comes first, then action follows. But in real life, it's often the opposite.
Yes, in real life, motivation usually comes after you feel safe. When pressure goes down, you suddenly feel like trying again.
That's why today is about safety, not progress.
About comfort, not achievement.
So, here's what we're going to do today. We're not going to study grammar. We're not going to practice pronunciation drills. We're not even going to learn in the traditional way.
We're going to say one sentence. That's it.
And this sentence is not impressive. It's not advanced. It's not something you show off.
It's something very normal people say in real life, especially when they've stopped and come back.
The sentence is, I'm starting again.
Not, I will start again next week. Not, I should start again. Just, I'm starting again.
Let's not rush this. Listen to it first. I'm starting again.
There's no pressure in that sentence, no big plan hiding inside it.
Now, if you want, say it quietly with me. I'm starting again.
Good. And if it feels a little uncomfortable, that's normal. Say it one more time. I'm starting again.
This sentence works because it's honest. It doesn't pretend you're confident. It doesn't pretend you know what you're doing.
It just says, I'm here again. And that's a very real place to be.
You can use this sentence in real life, too. You can say, I'm starting English again this year.
You can say it to a friend, to a coworker, or just to yourself in your head. All of those count.
One thing I want to say clearly here. Stopping before did not erase what you learned.
Yes, this is so important. People think, I forgot everything, but that's almost never true. You might feel slow, you might feel rusty, but that's not the same as starting from zero.
You know, something interesting happens when people start again. They don't actually struggle with English first. They struggle with their expectations. They think, by now I should be better. At this point, I shouldn't be here.
Yes, they're not fighting the language. They're fighting an imaginary version of themselves. The version that never stopped. The version that studied every day. The version that doesn't exist.
And that comparison is exhausting. Because every time you open English again, you're not just learning words, you're also judging yourself.
That's why so many people say, I open a video but I can't focus. It's not because the content is hard, it's because your mind is busy criticizing you.
So today, we want to do something very specific. We want to separate learning English from judging yourself.
Learning can be light. Judging is what makes it heavy.
Let's be honest for a moment. Most people don't need more English resources. They already have enough videos, apps, and books.
What they need is a different feeling when they use English. A feeling that says, I'm allowed to be here even if I'm slow.
That's why today is not about adding more.
It's about removing things, removing pressure, removing the idea that you're behind.
If English has felt like something you owe yourself,
Like a responsibility you keep failing, let's change that today.
from now on, English is not something you have to fix.
It's something you're slowly getting comfortable with again, like talking to someone you haven't seen in a long time.
At first, it feels awkward. You don't know what to say. There's silence.
But if you stay long enough, the awkwardness fades and the conversation starts again.
That's exactly what today is. Not a lesson. A first few minutes back in the conversation.
And conversations don't need to be perfect to continue. They just need honesty.
So if your English feels quiet right now,
That's okay. Quiet is still part of speaking.
if you feel slow,
That's okay too. Slow means you're paying attention.
we don't need you to promise anything today.
No daily goals, no long-term plans.
Just this moment.
Just this sentence. I'm starting again.
That's enough to reopen the door.
And tomorrow,
We'll take one more small step,
not because you have to.
but because now it feels possible again.
Let's talk about shame for a moment. Because shame is a big reason people don't come back.
A lot of learners feel embarrassed to restart. They think, why am I still at this level? Why am I here again?
But learning a language is not a straight line. It's more like start, stop, return, repeat.
Exactly. And returning is not failure. It's actually the strongest part.
Let me ask you something. Why are you starting again? Not the perfect answer, not the answer you post online.
Just the honest one. Maybe you want to travel without stress. Maybe you want to understand movies. Maybe you're just tired of avoiding English.
Whatever your reason is, it doesn't need to be big. Small reasons are more sustainable.
And you don't need to explain your reason to anyone. This is your relationship with English.
Another thing we want to remove today is the timeline. There is no deadline here, no race.
You're not late. You're not behind. You're exactly where you are.
This year doesn't have to be dramatic. It doesn't have to be the year you become fluent.
It can just be the year English feels less scary.
In this series, we'll move slowly. We'll repeat a lot. We'll use simple language.
And we'll focus on sentences you can actually say, not perfect sentences, usable sentences.
If today is the only thing you do in English,
That's still okay. You showed up. You listened. You stayed until the end.
that matters more than doing everything.
Consistency doesn't mean every day. Sometimes consistency means I keep coming back.
If you want to mark this moment, you can write day 1 somewhere.
In a notebook, on your phone, in a comment. Not as pressure, just as a reminder.
Tomorrow, we'll add one more sentence.
Just one, something you can actually use when you speak.
No rush.
No pressure.
Thanks for being here today.
Really, it takes more courage than people think.
And remember this, you didn't fail before.
You just paused.
And now,
You're here again. That's enough for today.